Did you know, if you're interested in a career making video games, there are over 2,000 schools specialising in game design worldwide? You're listening to the Xbox Hub Podcast, the official podcast of the txboxhub.com. For all the latest Xbox news, reviews, videos and opinions, make sure you visit the txboxhub.com. But for now, settle down, get comfy, and open your ears for some podcast delights. Hello and welcome to the Xbox Hub Official Podcast, episode 169. My name's Gareth Bryan, I'm going to be your host. On my virtual left is Mr. Darren Edwards. How you doing, Darren?
Oh, hello. Good evening. I'm very well. How are you?
Good, thank you. Very good. On my virtual right is Mr. Paul Renshaw. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing all right, Gareth. The XboxHub.com's official motorways and memes correspondent reporting for duty.
I nearly put you on the left, but I thought that's completely wrong.
Don't do that.
I can't do that.
I was fire.
Yeah. On my virtual opposite is Mr. Neil Watson. How you doing, Neil?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. I'm very good. Right, people of the world. as he desperately tries to remember what he's going to do next. Let's talk about our weeks, how we've been. Let's start with Darren. Darren, what's your week been like?
So not too much with work, but enjoying that Wimbledon's back and Andy Murray is still in the competition. Certainly, hopefully, will still be by the time you listen to this.
It is the second day as we record.
He's in second round action, or will be, or has been at some timeline when you listen to this. So looking forward to watching more of that over the next few weeks. Makes me feel like summer is here, even though the weather's a bit kind of hit and miss. But most importantly, after being so excited last week, our carvery plans were ruined on Sunday. We had a bit of a work outing, very much the highlight of everyone's calendar month, and we got there and they'd ran out of the carvery and it was menu only, and the poor man must have read my face when he told me, and there was just like a few seconds silence, and then I turned around to everybody else and told them the bad news. But we soldiered on, and we had a fun evening, even though we were minus a carvery. But this means I need to go for a carvery to make up for the lack of carvery. Wow. Yeah, I'm sure you can imagine. So,
did he say he was just trying to fool you because he said it said it's not 1988 anymore? So he didn't want to hurt your feelings.
That was going to be my question. It was ruined when he suddenly realised that it wasn't the 80s anymore.
He was very hesitant to tell me. Maybe I just had the air of a carvery enthusiast. I'm not sure, but he started talking about half gammons being not available on the menu and stuff, and then built himself up to. And then he kind of looked over to the empty hot plate where there were just some signs covering up the lack of carveriness. So, yes, but we did get fed, so it wasn't a total disaster. But yeah, a bit gutted about that, really.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go on.
Of course you can, Neil.
How much is a carvery nowadays, Darren?
Well, it depends if you want a bog standard carvery, if you want to go king size, because then you can get more of the meat and the second Yorkshire pudding if you wish as well. So you're talking anywhere between kind of 10, 11 to 13, 14 pounds for a good one, I think, at the minute. So, not bad.
There we go.
Probably the cheapest way to eat at the moment, if you
truly, cooking your own food is the cheapest way to eat these days.
Have you not heard the energy crisis, Paul?
Growing it in your back garden. Grow carrots in your back garden and eat them raw. Done.
Right. Good. Carvery fans, that's a bit more good content for you there. Now, Paul.
Podcast for, isn't it?
Yeah. What's your week been like, Paul?
What's my week been like? Well, nothing as exciting as Darren's. I had to go to Birmingham yesterday, and for some bizarre reason, Google Maps took me through Cannock, which is a real armpit of a place. I wasn't very impressed with that on the way through.
Apologise to our fans in Cannock.
Paul, can I just say, that's where I'm working at the moment as well.
Do you know what, Darren? I thought that. I did. I drove past. Yeah. I saw signs for a designer outlet, and I thought,
that's me.
If there's going to be anywhere that Darren's going to work in Cannock, it's going to be the designer outlet. but I don't think I actually saw it. I kind of went around and then joined the M6 somewhere. So, but it wasn't very exciting. So Birmingham wasn't very exciting either, to be fair. And then the week before that, I was in London, so that was also good fun. Just getting about on all these motorways and, continuing my search for meaningful memes, really. That's been my life.
That's been your life. Good. I like to hear it. What about you, Neil? Anything more exciting than these two?
I just want to ask Paul if he's watched a YouTube channel called Auto Shenanigans. I found it 3 days ago. Never heard of it before in my life. It's just some guy that does it. And he's got a series on there called Secrets of the Motorway.
Has he? Oh, that sounds exciting. I would love that. If he's got memes in there as well, that's done. It's solved.
Honestly, you would love it. Watch it. And anybody else that's listening to this, go to Auto Shenanigans and find the Secrets of the Motorway playlist.
Oh, can I also say, while we're on about YouTube, do you remember that clip you showed me a while back of that fella who does various drag races of these ridiculously fast cars? I think you sent me one of some bloke doing it in a Hennessy Venom or something.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the latest one he's done in that electric car?
No, because I forgot all about it after I first.
Well, you should watch the electric car one. It does 0 to 60 in I think 1.6 seconds.
But we don't know what that YouTube channel is.
Absolutely ridiculous. No, it's called Bloke Drives Quick Cars in a Straight Line. But yeah, it's very good. If you can find it from that great description, then yeah, there you go. Anyway, sorry. Over to you, Neil.
It's been the longest 5 minutes of my life, this is. Go on, Neil. What's your week?
Yeah, sorry, what have I been doing? I went on holiday a couple of weeks ago, went out to Rhodes with Gemma for a week or so. That was nice. Holiday and bike riding, really. So,
okay, good.
But not at the same time?
No, not at the same time. No, I had a whole week off the bike and basically just sat around the swimming pool.
There we go. Nice. Very nice. I'm going to recommend something in the week that I've seen. I always like to recommend something on Apple TV again. Not that we're promoting Apple TV.
The other 3 subscribers, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm one of them now.
It's very good. It's a new series called Hijack, and it's starring Idris Elba, but it's got a cast of hundreds in it as well. And as you know, the idea of it is a hijack on a plane going from Dubai back to London Heathrow. And I think the episodes take place at the length of the flight. It's like every hour of the flight, and what's really good, I'm not going to talk about any of the plot because I don't want to give anything away. But what's great about it, do you remember when you first watched 24, the first kind of couple of seasons? The whole premise of it, every hour, for 24 hours. It has that feeling about it. It goes back to that really kind of good thriller. It feels like you don't know who's the villain, who's good, who's going to turn against the other person, what the plots are. It's really, really, really good storytelling, really exciting, really good fun to watch. So I'd recommend watching Hijack on Apple TV, where all the best things are. Neil's an Apple person now, Neil. You've got an Apple.
I
can't believe he's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone to the dark side. Can't believe it.
After 20 years of Team Android, I've kind of moved over, bought a Mac. Seriously, consider an iPhone.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Oh,
yeah. Don't tell anyone.
What do you want a Mac for? They're dreadful.
Oh
no! Awful things.
This podcast is brought to you by Mac. Let me just say that. So,
And we've seen how professional it is as well. Yeah. Imagine how good it'd be if it was run by Windows.
Well, we see. We've heard about your exploits on PC, running factories going wrong. Right, let's talk about games because it's been not a lot in those, but we've been playing lots of games, haven't we? Let's start with Neil. He's got a big one there. Sorry, Neil. Don't mean that.
I beg your pardon.
Thanks, Karen. You can see it in my holiday Snapchat.
Yeah.
I'll start with F1 23. So the usual annual release of the F1 game comes from Codemasters. Got EA behind it now, as we all know, because they purchased Cody's. And it's a nice kind of iteration on what they've pushed out over the last 3 years or so. I think EA got involved with F1 21, and that brought in the Breaking Point story. Last year's one wasn't quite so good. It didn't have the story, so there wasn't really a lot to go back to. And then this one, F1 23, Breaking Point is back again. So there's a new kind of story mode to play through. There's the usual career. There's tons of multiplayer stuff. There's loads of challenges. It drives really well as well. It's probably the best Formula One game on the market. I'm currently putting my review together. It's going to be a 4.5 out of 5, I think. It's really impressive.
Oh, good. Any questions from racing people?
Did you play it with that controller that you got? You know, the one with the steering wheel built in.
I may have been using a steering wheel.
Did you use the little modular controller?
Oh, that one. No, I haven't. No, I haven't tried it with that one yet. Actually,
that'd be interesting to see what you think of it.
Tried the normal steering wheel and the normal controller, and I've got a gear shift coming soon as well, so that would be quite good to try. But yeah, if you like F1, then this like I say, this is definitely the best of the lot. Just because of that story mode, because they bring Breaking Point in. It's not like tens of hours long or anything, but it's just something nice to sit back with, go through certain scenarios, and see where the story takes you. Nice.
Oh, good. I won't be playing that, but very good.
No, mate.
No.
Can I just ask, what if you don't like Formula One? Would it still be good?
No, Paul. It's all about Formula One.
I don't care about Formula One in the slightest, but I do like a racing game, as you know. So I was just curious as to whether it's good enough to make me think.
F1 this time. So,
okay.
Yeah. You stick with Forza.
Cool. I'll stick with Forza. You play that. Yeah. People who don't know what they're on about, no worries.
Good. Talk about people who don't know what they're on about. Paul, what's your next game?
I see what you did there, you bugger. Well, I'm going to talk about a game now that I'm just in the middle of writing my review for, which is a game that I know that you in particular have been looking forward to, Gareth, and that's Aliens Dark Descent.
Oh, yes.
Now, given how much you loved the Aliens Fireteam Elite game, and how you never say anything disparaging about it, I'm sure you'll be gagging to know all about this one.
Yes, please.
Excellent news. Right, well, what it does is it takes the familiar kind of Aliens universe and it turns it into it's not like a tactical RPG. It's almost like a real-time tactical RPG. You don't move your characters and then wait for the enemies to respond. You're in full control of your squad of Marines at all times. So you have to move them forward and find the aliens. And then when the aliens run towards you, you walk backwards shooting them and stuff. So, so far, it's very, very good indeed. I'm really enjoying it. The story's good. The action is great. And it's really actually very, very tense. Just walking through these environments, you're looking at it from a slightly top-down perspective. You can rotate the camera to give you the best view of the action. But yeah, it's Aliens Dark Descent. Very, very good. And keep an eye out for an upcoming review.
Oh, good. It's not on Game Pass, is it?
It's not on Game Pass, no.
Okay. Any question? Oh, God. Yeah, of course, Darren.
Oh, that was mind meld. Is it kind of set in the universe as canon, or is it like its own little thing? Like Isolation was linked to the main films.
I would say it's its own little thing. The story seems to be that Weyland-Yutani, the giant corporation, are up to their usual tricks and have sent a consignment of aliens to a space station. And then they escape to the planet below, and the rest is history. So, But yeah, it's not the gear that the Marines use, and even the motion tracker are straight out of Aliens.
Oh,
but it's such a tense game. It's really quite terrifying.
Okay, are we going to give it, Paul? Did you say?
I didn't say, Gareth. I prefer to keep an element of suspense.
Good. Good.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You can, Neil. Go ahead.
Would somebody who
if it's
doesn't like
about monsters-
Alien or Aliens like it?
Yes. Anybody with a pulse and a brain in their head should love this game.
What about somebody that doesn't know the difference between Alien and Aliens? Would they like it as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool, brilliant.
I'm glad that the question wasn't about monster superbike energy thing anyway. So
Yeah.
That's the second game you're talking about, isn't it?
it's really not.
Okay, good. There you go. Any dark ascent? I think Paul's going to give that a 4.5. I've got a feeling. Okay, let's talk about. He went quiet as well.
I'm
so
going to have to give it a 5 now, aren't I? Just to cut you up.
Yeah. Darren, what have you got?
So the first game I've got this week is Park Beyond, which is the latest theme park sim strategy game released by Bandai Namco. If you remember, a couple of months back, I played it when I was with Richard at WASD down in London. Played it on PC then, though, and obviously you've got the Xbox code this time. So it's a difficult one. I had mixed feelings about it because I'm sure you guys in the past have played, whether it's Theme Park World or Roller Coaster Tycoon, which was a favourite of mine, 10, 20 years back. But this is basically you are hired as like a visionary type kind of out-the-box thinker who needs to turn the fortunes around of this theme park company, essentially. And the idea is just pushing it to the extreme. So hence the name, going beyond any sort of designs you've seen before, really kind of pulling on the fantastic and wowing the visitors to the park as much as possible. And to be fair, in that department, like the imagination and stuff and even the little animations of the rides when you get them up and running, really good, really, really impressive. Like it's a nice place to be when you're developing the park and stuff. But I kind of, it definitely had its issues, whether it was glitches, like the opening cinematics were so incredibly laggy that even the sound cut out in parts. And and hopefully they'll patch it. But there's 8 missions in the campaign, and the first half is kind of like an elongated tutorial before you're kind of given more general objectives and you find your own way there. And there's a sweeping shot across like the surface of some water, and it starts glitching out into like rectangles of polygons and stuff. It looks dreadful in parts. And it's not just that either. Like the controls haven't mapped particularly well to console, I don't think. And that's always the big question with these games. Like with Age of Empires did it so well. How do you get strategy games onto a home console and play it with a home console controller? And in this case, not so well, unfortunately. Like building paths and stuff is quite fiddly. Placing your buildings is quite fiddly as well. So I thought that the foundations are solid and they really kind of aim high, but I think the execution's just lacking in certain parts. But with a bit of polish, and I said in my review, with some good DLC in a bit of time, they can turn the fortunes around. But at the minute, it just needs some work, I think.
It's not good enough, is it? If it needs all that stuff to happen.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I'll be honest. Like, it really was disappointing. And I thought, like, in terms of, there's a campaign, an 8-part campaign, and then there's like a sandbox mode, which is much more do what you want, build the park. You have everything unlocked, play around with it. The world's your oyster. But in terms of the campaign, it holds your hand an awful lot at the beginning, and it's just lists of objectives like build one of these, do one of these, do one of these. And it takes a while to open up, and then it's over. So I think there's a bit of a pacing issue there as well, which they'll have to address. I'm sure they've got plans for DLC and things, because they've got, when you make the rides ridiculous and fantastical, it's called impossifying them, and they've got like a little website to the same effect as well. So I'm imagining they've got plans to bring out DLC packs, because I mean, it's endless, isn't it? They could bring out theme packs, different missions. Like it could go on and on like The Sims if there's enough people that buy it and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
But they need to fix the controls first, don't they? Before they do that, that's the problem.
Yes,
and can they do that?
Well, I'm not sure. I hope so. But I mean, I think we've talked about this before on the podcast. Like, can you completely remap and redesign a control scheme for a game that's released on console? I don't know if that's possible.
No.
But yeah, it's not unplayable. Don't get me wrong, but it's far from smooth. Like, you see what Microsoft Studios did with, or Xbox Game Studios did with Age of Empires. There are ways of doing it, and they just haven't hit the nail on the head with the controls here, I don't think.
Okay, good. Part Beyond. It's okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a game of mine. I've been playing Guilt, and GYLT. Is that how you say it? Yeah, Guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's out tomorrow, which is probably today when you're listening to it. Now, this is a game that was on the famous Stadia. It was one of the exclusives on the Google Stadia.
Love Stadia.
Yeah.
You have a history of backing the incorrect hardware, don't you, Neil?
I just back all the hardware and see what sticks.
How's that Steam Deck getting on?
It's in Leeds now.
It's going well.
With the PSVR 2.
It's a game.
Sorry, Gareth.
That's all right. It's Tequila Studios who did Rhyme, which I loved. I think, Neil, you played that as well. You loved that. It's a game where you play a little teen girl called Sally, who's in this kind of world. She's being bullied, but then she ends. Think of Stranger Things and the way they have an upside down world of a town. It has a different version of the town, and this town is full of creatures crawling around. And there's her little cousin Emily is lost in this place, so she goes out to rescue her and goes on this kind of adventure through this kind of strange, different version of the town she lives in. And it's mainly a stealth game, I think. It's lots of kind of like you're crouching. First of all, then you can have some combat against the creatures. You have a torch that you've got to hide, but you can use the torch to have like a beam, like Alan Wake, when you do a beam of light at the creatures, and you can knock bits of them off to knock them out. Later on, you get fire extinguishers, you can freeze them. And you go on this little kind of like, and there's small little puzzles. What's quite nice about it, I think it's a really good family game. I think you can play with kind of like young kids with it. It has that kind of feel. It is dark at times, but it's not. It's dark in the way, I don't know. I think I might have said in the review, Horrible Histories is, or like Goosebumps. It has that kind of feel to it. I was really engaged. It took about 6 or 7 hours to complete. It's really engaging. It had me sort of like, I really kind of enjoyed it for that time. It does everything well. It does the stealth well. It just doesn't. Wow! It doesn't give you a kind of like, I don't know. There's something just missing from it. I don't quite know what that is because it does everything well. I think it just becomes maybe too formulaic after a while. If you hate stealth games and crawling around, then you're doomed a bit because you've been doing a lot of that. But it's worth a look at, actually. It's really worth a look at. I'm glad it's come away from the sort of like the death grip of Stadia. And come to console.
I don't think it had much choice, really, did it?
No, it didn't. No. But it's definitely worth a go, and it's good for a family kind of adventure game. Yeah. Any questions? No, you haven't got any questions.
No, I think you covered it.
I
nearly bought it on Stadia back in the day. I was a founder of Google Stadia. I'm not a founder of Google Stadia. I didn't make the thing. My fault. What was I?
Was it your decision to turn it off?
The big button.
Yeah, about 6 months too late. But no, yeah, I nearly bought it on Stadia. So I'll probably have a look at it on Xbox. I think it'll probably hit Game Pass on it at some point.
Yeah, so I think so.
It feels like a perfect Game Pass game.
Yeah, absolutely. Darren, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, when you were nailing down the theme, maybe not then with Goosebumps and stuff, but is it like dark in like a fairy tale type way, or is it not that type of story?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. You're not going to have jump scares, really. It does. Right. It's not like Amnesia.
Yeah, can't take that again. That's
the kids game, Amnesia.
Yeah. It's they're quite colourful creatures. It's nothing. You're never going to be that frightened. It's that's what I mean by kind of family theme. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I really enjoyed it. I did sort of like we're reviewing games and we're sometimes reviewing like quite a few games at the same time. You sort of like do a bit and then you go to the next one. You go to the next one. This one sort of hooked me. I thought, oh no, just get this done. It hooked me completely for that time. Good, Neil. Have you got another game for us?
I'd like to talk about Tour de France 2023, but I don't really know what to say about it because it's the same game as 2022 and all the ones since 2015, really. Nakon and Cyanide, who put it together, bring this out every single year. And obviously, I like riding bikes. I like cycling. I love the Tour de France. It's on at the moment. I've watched the Netflix program. Give me cycling, I'm there. But it's just, I don't know what to say about it. They've added literally one thing over last year's game, and that's time limited, and you can only play it at certain times of the week, and then they reset it, so it's a certain challenge. But other than that, it's the same game, which is it's disappointing, but at the same time, I don't know. I give up, to be honest.
Oh,
Well, it's just sad.
And it does make me sad because it should be so good. It's got all the official stages of the Tour de France. It's got all the cyclists. It's got all the bikes. And to give them their due, actually, this year I think it's the first year where they've got different bikes in it. So before they just had cookie cutter bikes. Everybody's riding the same bike just with different colour. This year you can spot the different frames, which is nice.
Well, some people.
But the music
for the nerds, yeah.
Yeah. But I am a bike nerd, so
Well, there you
I
go.
like that kind of thing. Yeah, but the music's the same, the menu is the same, the audio is the same, except for maybe one line extra that they've recorded, and you can tell they've recorded it separately from all the rest. It's a different volume than all the rest of it.
Neil, can I ask you something? If you could do the best Tour de France game, what one thing would you put in it then to make it better? What do you want?
The God Swift.
Guns.
Guns?
No,
Guns. That's what you
I don't
need.
know. It's just I don't know. It's just very. I don't know. I like F1 as well, right? And Codemasters and EA have proven how to make an F1 game. Yeah, make it look good, make it sound good, make it play well. This is such a notch down from what they're doing. I know it's a completely different studio. There's less money, but to keep pumping out the same thing for 8 years in a row with very minimal changes, I don't know. I think every single one of my reviews says, can't wait till next year's. Can't wait till next year's. And then next year's one's exactly the same again.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Can I ask a question? I'm intrigued. How do you play a Tour de France game? Is it like the old days where you just bash buttons to make your guy cycle, or is it like a management kind of thing? What do you do?
Right, I'll go into a little bit of detail, but not too much detail, because there is a lot that you can do. You can give team instructions, and you can tell certain riders to attack, etc. Ultimately, you're playing as a rider. The right trigger makes him pedal. Bash the A button, he sprints. Hold RB, he will, do a super tuck, so he goes downhill quicker.
Okay.
But stages in the Tour de France are 200, 250 kilometers long, right?
Yeah.
And nobody wants to sit there holding the RT button for probably about 55 minutes of in-game play to do one stage. So they've got a fast forward. So you press B, and then you hold LT, and it fast forwards at 10 times speed. But then you don't know what's going on around you, so you can't kind of tactically play it. So you're constantly going backwards and forwards between normal speed, which is boring as hell, fast forward, which is just fast forward, or they let you skip the stage and you go straight to the end, and that just tells you won. But it's like they want to, or they're quite happy for you just to skip the stage and just leave it. Don't do anything with it.
Sounds like my
which
perfect
is very
game.
weird.
It does.
Yeah.
It sounds like a walking
But-
simulator on wheels.
Yeah, but on the flip side, as much as I like the Tour de France, I don't want to sit there for 6 hours and watch 6 hours of racing. Not every single day. Sometimes you just want to get the highlights, which is where this is quite decent.
This
So
sounds...
is there no way of having an influence on the outcome? If you can skip
Well,
the
you
stage
can.
and it says who won, then
No, if you skip stage, you go straight to the end. It just tells you who won, and you sit there. It says,
is
such
it
and
you
such
or
won, such- me that won?
yeah? Have you won the Tour de France?
stage?
yet?
You're already a loser.
Oh, I
Is
see
it-
what you did there.
Isn't there a Tour de France manager game as well? Was that
I was
coming
going to
out?
say, it's like Football Manager, it
on-
sounds like.
On PC is Pro Cycling Manager. I played that last year, and actually, there's an article up on the site where I compared the two, and that is even more nerdy. And strangely, the Tour de France game is better than the Pro Cycling Manager game. That's even more boring, really. It's not like Football Manager. It's not that in depth. I don't know. Anyway,
Well,
I'm
you-
playing.
It sounds awful now. Don't
I
ever
have
play
a
one
question,
again.
Neil.
It's not awful. It's not brilliant. And this is possibly the best so far, but only because they make the smallest of changes every year and just layer that on top of what came last year. I just want to see them kind of have a year off, rip it up, start again, instead of just push stuff out. I'm sure we'll talk later about companies that push stuff out when it's not ready.
Good.
Yeah.
Darren, what's your
Cool.
question? We've given more time to Tour de France than I've ever known in my life. Okay? Give me a good question.
Just to round it off, if I don't like Tour de France, would this game make me like it?
You would love it, Darren.
Thank you. No further questions.
Good. Now, because of the Tour de France time, you've just got one more game, Paul. What do you want to talk about?
But I've got loads of games to talk
I know.
about.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about one.
I can only talk about one. Oh, what shall I talk about?
I'm going to say Enclave.
You're going to say Enclave
Yes,
HD?
please. Yes, please.
Okay. I'll talk about a game that looks like, I mean, don't quote me on this, but it's looking like a game that was released in the sort of 90s on PC and has now been re-released on the Xbox Series X, called Enclave, and it's now Enclave HD. And basically, it's a third-person action game where you run around and fight various nasty creatures, and you can use a sword and a shield and a torch and some spells. And it looks like, well, it hasn't had much of a smack with the HD stick, let's put it that way. It runs lovely and smoothly. The camera is hyperactive. The slightest touch on the right stick to move the camera around and you get motion sickness. It's really, really sensitive.
What's going on with games with that at the moment? I'm getting a lot of games with that. I get a lot of games that's happening with, and I can't change the settings like on the sensitivity. Oh, it's annoying.
Well, first time when I fired it up, the y-axis was inverted. So I'm like trying to look down and looking at the ceiling, and I was like, "Oh, this is dreadful." So I had to dive into the settings and sort that out. But there's no sensitivity settings for the camera that I've been able to find. So you just have to be very, very careful. And it looks old. It looks clunky. It plays. It's one of those games where it's a 3D fighting game, and it would benefit so much from a lock-on for the enemies. You know, like Dark Souls, when you want to fight something, you lock onto it, and you can go around and dodge attacks and stuff. With this one, if you dodge attacks, you end up with the enemy behind you somewhere. You try and swing the camera around to look at it, end up throwing up on the floor like you've been playing VR kayaking. Yeah, it's rough, but it has a certain charm, and I'm quite enjoying it so far. Much like your good self, Gareth.
Yeah, I was going to say. I thought that's your Tinder profile, isn't it?
I'm too old for Tinder. I don't know what that is.
Good. And there's an interview, isn't there, with I think on the site. Is that right? With the developers?
There is, yeah. We interviewed Alex, who is the creative director. I want to say, I might be wrong. Sorry. At Ziggurat Interactive, who have put this together and have kind of sorted the HD side of it and stuff. So yeah, that's live on the site right now.
Oh, good.
And the review will be there shortly.
Great. There you go. Professionalism. Darren, what have you been playing?
So I've been playing a game called Noob the Factionless, which I think you'll agree is fitted for us all. So it's a...
Speak for yourself.
I just thought I'd beat you there, Paul. RPG, but you play as some people who are playing an MMORPG. So you start off in the real world, in inverted commas, and then you go into the game within the game world. And basically, you play an MMORPG called Horizon, and it's in update 4.2, and update 5 is coming out soon, which is going to launch it onto the esports scene. So these players want to grind up to level 100 as quickly as possible, and that's the preamble behind it. So I've played a bit, not an awful lot so far, just a few hours, and it does ticks all the boxes that an RPG would, but just a bit like what you were saying earlier, Gareth. There's no wow that I've found so far. There's nothing that makes it stand out from anything else, really. It's got your kind of skill trees and different little jobs you can do, like you can go fishing, you can catch monsters.
Automatically a good game.
There you go. But it's all very, very simplistic. Like to fish, you just press A to cast your rod, and then press A when a little fish picture comes up when you get a bite. To catch
That's what you do in real life fishing, Darren.
Absolutely, yeah. All we do is sit there and press A.
And then, catching the monster, you run up to it and press A, and then you've caught it. So it's not like Pokemon scenario. But then there's monsters wandering the environment. You walk around, you see them, and when you meet them, you go into like a turn-based mode, a bit like Dragon Quest and stuff, where your party take turns to attack the monsters and so on. So it's nothing that you haven't seen before, but I am quite enjoying it, maybe because I just haven't played in a game like that for a while, and it's not too, you're not bombarded with stuff. It's not too complicated. Like it's quite easy to get into. It's quite accessible. So if it does anything to change it up, it'll be good. But I've got a feeling it's going to sit quite steady throughout. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it pans out.
Okay, good. The last game I'm going to talk about really briefly is...
Can I ask you a question? Sorry.
As long as it's quick.
It will be quick. So from what you were saying, Darren, you're playing a game within a game. Is that right?
Yes. So you play as characters, and then those characters start playing the fictional MMORPG. And
is the rest of the game... So the rest of the game is then inside this fictional MMORPG, is it?
So far, but I've not finished it. But yeah, so far it is. It's just the beginning that's in like the real world, if you like.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Good. Glad we cleared that up.
You're sleeping.
I've never heard a podcast host getting so dirty when people want to actually talk.
I thought,
my goodness,
that was very funny. Good question. Okay, let me. I thought it was going to be something different. I don't know why.
I'm going to listen to your question very, very carefully now for your next bit, so I can come up with a suitable question for you, Gareth.
Oh, what am I going to talk about? Let's talk about A Painted Tale, Coron, 1950. I don't think the review's up yet. No, it isn't.
It's like the editor's been on holiday.
It's like he's been on holiday or something.
That's what I did last week. Sorry,
I can't remember what I was giving it, but I liked it a lot. It's a game. It's what happened in Coron in 1950 or 1949. It was this little village on north of Italy, and it had a lot of. It was on the border of Austria, so it had a lot of German speakers there. So it's kind of like a little bit separated. It was this little small village, and the Italian authorities, because they needed power, flooded the village, and so it became a dam, so they could use it for a power thing. So the people who lived there had maybe, I think it was like 6 months to kind of get out, and they were sort of rehoused somewhere. But it was awful where they were rehoused in almost like concrete iron kind of like places. It wasn't a sort of happy story. So, and at the moment you can go to that place and you can see the lake, but also you just see the tower, the church steeple tower sticking out of the lake. And that's where this game starts. You're set in the modern day, you're a painter and you're painting this lake with a tower, and then you see some strange lights, and then you investigate, and then you go back in time to 1949. And then you're in the village itself just before it's about to be flooded, and then you go on a sort of like RPG, no, not RPG, a little adventure where you go and do tasks and you talk to people, and then you get involved in this kind of real life story. And at the same time, the game developers put in real facts, as secrets. You can find sort of like artifacts or paintings or true story. And it's the style of it is like what do they call that kind of retro style, but it's like super retro. It's like upgraded. I can't remember what it's called. Pixel art, but super pixel. Anyways, pixel art. It looks great. It's really in a good style. I really like the story. It's a nice little short 2 to 3 hour thing. I like the fact that it was a real story, something I never heard of. Apparently, there's a Netflix series, like a supernatural thing about this as well.
If you want to investigate down the Netflix series,
I haven't. I think I've done it now in the game. I thought, no, I like this. I've done it now. It's really good. It's a really lovely little game. I really enjoyed it. I can't remember what I gave it. It was such a long time ago.
Burn.
I think I get it.
How much longer is this podcast going on for?
Unbelievable. Yeah, so it's good. It's really worth having a little good. Any questions?
If you don't, yeah, I've got a question. If you don't particularly like Italians or Germans, would you like this game?
It's not for you, Paul.
Or painting.
Or painting, yeah.
None of it's for you, Paul.
No, the lake thing I can get beside. I'd enjoy that. But, the painting and stuff...
No, it's not for you, Paul.
It's a Gareth game, is it?
Well, it's just anyone else apart from you. It hasn't got any guns in it or aliens. Which is the key.
Rubbish then.
Right, let's move on. We've done games. Let's talk about very quickly Annapurna Showcase, which was last week, which we just the day after when we finished the podcast. Maybe.
Yeah, let's.
Let's just pick one game we like the look of each, and let's just pick one.
Can't we just pick one game?
It's a good job you said one game, because that was about all I took from that.
Oh, behave yourself.
Honestly, they were dreadful. Dreadful.
Unbelievable.
No, wrong.
Darren, let's start with you, because you're the more intelligent out of these.
Thank you, Gareth. Thank you. I appreciate your feedback.
Paul, do you want to leave with me?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Well, I genuinely thought it was another strong showing, because I thought it was one of the strongest showings from last year. When you compare it to Capcom and Bandai Namco, and I think it was a lot better, an awful lot better. And I'm struggling to pick one, but I will pick one, and it has to be the Blade Runner, the big reveal at the end. So it's Annapurna's first game that they're developing themselves, because they're a long-running publisher, and it's Blade Runner 2033 Labyrinth. So it's set in between the original film and the Denis Villeneuve film. So I believe it's in something called like the blackout era in the timeline. And essentially, I think you play as like a Los Angeles police department cop who, you kind of coax back for one last job. And I think details about it right scarce, but I thought it looked brilliant. I know it's only a quick trailer, but it's anything in that type of scenario I'm all for. I love that type of kind of neo sci-fi setting. So and it's the director is Chelsea Hash, who worked on What Remains of Edith Finch and Solar Ash as well. So it's got some good talent behind it. So I'm really, really looking forward to this.
Brilliant. That's why I went with Darren first. Thank you, Darren. That's a great answer. Did that beautifully. Paul, what was your one?
Well, I'm going to invite you, Gareth, to see if you can guess which game I thought looked okay.
I was going to do this to me. I was going to guess my game, but let me have a think. I reckon it's... Oh, I don't know. It's definitely not that. It's not that.
I'll give you a
clue. There was only one game that featured anything resembling a gun.
Oh, was it Bounty
It's
Star?
got a mech in it.
It was
Is
Bounty
it Last
Star.
World
Yes.
Photography Sim?
God, yeah. Yeah, the Bounty Star one, which I thought looked quite good. She's obviously jumping in a giant robot and bringing peace to the frontier and stuff. So, yeah, a bit of action in the middle of a sea of mediocrity, which was the rest of the showcase. Honestly, do you not think the games that they showed were just like, what are you showing me this for? I don't want to take photographs. I don't play on an Xbox to take a photograph of a field. What is wrong with these people?
It's because you're used to guns and aliens and fishing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, who wants
You're
to
missing
fish virtually?
Who
No one
wants
to do
to?
that?
No, exactly. Who in their right mind would go, I'm going to go onto my Xbox now and I'm going to take a photograph of something, rather than thinking, I'll take my camera, I'll walk out of the front door and take a photograph of the real thing?
Yeah,
Paul,
me.
Have you ever played a game called Pokemon Snap?
No.
Oh, well, it's lost on you, hasn't it?
Too old for that.
I'm aware of Pokemon Snap, but I have never played it personally. But anyway, no. But the rest of the games were. I sat there watching it, thinking, "This is a Gareth game. This is a Gareth game. This is a Gareth game. Oh, guns! This is a Gareth game." So,
I think you've just.
To be fair though, Anna Turner do a lot of Gareth games.
they really do.
And they're
It's
very
like
good
he's
at them.
some sort of
They're very
control.
good at them.
What am I reviewing? I think I'm reviewing one of those at the moment. I can't remember. Neil, what was your one?
Well, I didn't watch it, obviously, because I don't watch any of it.
Do I get
I was just excited to see Stray come to Xbox. I played it on PlayStation.
Yeah.
I thought it was all right. I enjoyed it. I didn't want any more of it, but it was good. And so, yeah, I'll probably play it again, actually, on Xbox.
I think I'll play it
There's
again.
that one. And what was it? Cocoon? That's
Yeah,
coming
that
to
was
Game
good.
Pass.
No, that's good.
That looks good.
That's from the Limbo people, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's one of those, I think. Yeah, that looks very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't really watch presentations just because I don't want to.
Fair enough.
I like
and I'm the
Anna
boss,
Turner
so you
games.
can't make me.
It's just a life choice. That's what you do. You just don't watch them. But no, Anna Turner makes some really good games. So
Yeah.
I'm going with Darren's quote of this was the best showcase of the last 2 weeks.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Good. We're going to go now through the.
What game did you want?
Oh, I the photography one, of course.
All of them.
Yeah. I like the ones that I Blade Runner again. I think Blade Runner and Cocoon were my favourite looking. But I like the idea of the photography one. With Engine 5's kind of thing. It's good. We're going to go through the games of July. That we've got an article up where we do everything. It's the start of the month, and we have our top 10 Xbox and Game Pass games of July. We're going to talk through some of them quite quickly, some of them quite slowly. What we liked. We talked about Guilt is one of them, which I've talked about. My review's out at the moment. It's definitely worth a go. Let's talk about the next one, which is the Valiant, which is coming out. When is that Valiant coming out? Is it end of the month?
It's coming out on the 11th or the 12th.
12th.
Yeah, it looks quite good, I think, hopefully.
It does look quite good. I can actually talk about that a little bit.
Please,
since
Paul.
It's been my. I may be looking at that for
Not
review.
too much.
Not too much. It looks good. There you go.
What is
That's
it?
I can't say anymore.
Oh.
I can tell you everything about the Valiant. It's a real-time strategy game. It's like the Crusades, and you kind of just go killing things, don't you? So here we go.
Yeah,
okay.
pretty much. There you
Brilliant.
go.
Very good.
Yeah.
The other one, bloody Exoprimal. Yes, oh my
Woo!
God. I can't believe it.
This is one for you.
Yeah.
Well, has it got guns and aliens in? Well, no, it's got
pretty
guns and
much.
dinosaurs in. So,
Close
yeah,
enough.
I'm all over Exoprimal. I'm really hoping to get some quality time with that game very soon. It launches on the 14th, is it?
Yeah. Who's reviewing
It's
this?
Game Pass as well.
We
Don't
don't
know
know
it is.
yet. We haven't had a We haven't had a notification yet. I have made
scrap in the car park.
representations behind the scenes. Let's put it that way.
One of
you
the
are.
Xbox Hub team did a very nice article a couple of months ago about his time with I think it was a beta or a
It was
closed
with the
test or
beta,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but
Right.
I guess he's probably.
Hang on, it was that really good writer, Paul Renshaw, was it?
Oh,
Yeah,
was that him?
that's it.
Oh.
Yeah, that's him.
Can't
Yeah.
have been. He ran top fishing all the time. It can't be that.
Listen, I
Apparently
wrote that
don't get any
fishing
good games,
article.
remember
Like,
that?
well, I don't. I get all these little stupid games.
Exo
Anyway.
Primer is the kind of game, if you ask an 8-year-old, what's your best, what would your perfect video game be? And they go, well, it's got guns, and it's got dinosaurs, and that would be it. But I'm sure it would be great.
Real
I fail to see what anything, I can't even think you're being sarcastic there, Gareth. This is going to be a triumph.
Yeah, good.
And I
yes.
want you to come and help me play it in multiplayer.
I can't do that.
Of course you can.
I'll help you.
Paul,
Thanks, Neil. You're the best.
Let's talk about the next one. Remnant 2. This does look good, doesn't it? I did enjoy the first Remnant. We had a lot of good things about it. That's coming, I think it's right at the end of the month, isn't it? Maybe the 20th, 21st, around that area. Maybe I'm wrong, 24th, around that day. We saw a bit of this in one of the showcases. I think it might have been the PlayStation showcase, right? It looks great. It's people always said for the first one, it's Dark Souls with guns. I think maybe it's a bit more than that. I think it's kind of interesting. And the good thing about this is up to 4 people. I'd play this one with you, Paul.
Oh, cool. If you get the review code, let me know and we'll give it a try.
God, I won't be reviewing it. Jesus Christ.
Of course,
Did you review the first one, Paul?
No, I think it was Richard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it Richard? Yeah, it might be, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd helped him play some of the DLC, I think, but yeah, it was very good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it does look
I'm looking forward to the second one.
Next one on our list is The Expanse, a Telltale series. Now, I'm looking forward to this. That's quite interesting. It's great to have Telltale back in doing what they do. Has anyone seen The Expanse series? No. Tough crowd.
Sorry.
It's very good. I mean,
Have you seen it?
I've seen it. I've not seen all of it. I've seen a couple of seasons. It's a really good. It's kind of gritty sci-fi. It's really good. I've just not got around to doing the other bits. It's really good. It's kind of like the mechanics of being in space. There's no aliens or anything. It's about colonies being in space. It's great. It's great, and it's good to see it expand. So it'd be good to see what they do, come back to their best. Yeah, and that's coming out at the end of the month as well, isn't it? Yeah. Tough crowd.
I like the Telltale game, but I don't know much about it. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that.
Good.
It'd be interesting to see if they do anything new now that they've come back, or if they just carry on what they were doing a decade ago.
Yeah.
A bit longer, wasn't it? Maybe.
Yeah. It's been a while. I mean, my favourite one of theirs was the Wolf Among Us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a sequel coming, isn't there, at some point?
Next year, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
2030.
2030. Yeah. Next one is that. Oh my God, what's this? Double Dragon Gaiden: Rise of the Dragons.
Game about dragons.
What? Do anyone know about this?
Right?
Double Dragon's a famous sort of side-scrolling beat 'em up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it in that series?
I think it is. Who likes to look at this? Who could talk about this?
Paul does.
I've not seen anything about it, so I can't talk much. But yeah, I'm all about a side-scrolling beat 'em up. I mean, Streets of Rage 4 was a very good game, which is completely nothing to do with Double Dragon. So I don't know why I even mentioned it. But yeah, if it's going to go back to, I mean, it was famous on the old Mega Drive, wasn't it? Streets of Rage, and not Streets of Rage. Sorry, Double Dragon. So. I'm just rambling here.
It's good, Paul. I like
it. I'll just keep filling, fella. Just keep filling time. Go sideways and hit things.
Good. There's 13 characters to play. You tag team moments, if you like all that stuff.
Absolutely. I'm all for a tag team, Gareth.
This is more for Neil. Formula One Manager 2023.
Oh, God.
That's coming.
I'll play it.
Yeah, tell us about it, Neil. What do you know about this?
I reviewed last year's one, F1 Manager 2022, and it was well, very nerdy for about the
Never.
sixth game today. Yeah, it's as you would expect. It's managing the F1 season with all the stats and figures that you could ever want. It was okay. It wasn't as good as actually driving the cars or anything like that. There was some dodgy bits, but it was the first one in the series, so kind of let them off. This one should be better, I guess.
You know, in Formula One, there's always some kind of like scandal or something happens with one of the drivers, or there's something that happens with one of the teams. Does that ever appear in one of these games?
Well, there is a story that you play through and stuff, but not scandal as such. Well,
so you can't do underhanded things with the aero or anything like they do. I've been
watching F1 since 1985, and every single year something comes up with doing. So it's just kind of standard stuff now. But I think with how Netflix portrayed the whole kind of F1 circus, and the bosses came to the scene in Drive to Survive, everybody wants to be everybody wants to be Christian Horner. So there's obviously a space for this, and it does make sense. So
yeah, okay,
good deal.
It's coming out this month. And the next one is Rise of the Triad. It's a first-person shooter game, isn't it, this one? I've not heard anything about this. Anyone else know anything about this?
It's not for you, Gareth, if it's a first-person shooter, is it?
I'm good at first-person shooters. It's more in the style of Duke Nukem, Doom, or those kind of games. It looks quite fun. Big guns and... Yeah, does look good.
Yeah.
That's coming out this month. That was quite good. It's a little surprise.
That was the least convincing thing I've ever heard.
Well, none of these games are
big guns. It looks great.
me and Darren haven't been able to say one thing about any of these games. Darren's not said a word. He's just like crying into his
Listen,
into his
I
cup.
think we found on this podcast that there's a very distinct line between games me and Gareth like and Paul and Neil like.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got boring games versus games with a bit of action in.
So you decide which way around that is.
Yeah, Mr.
God, yeah.
Next one, Mr. Run and Jump. This is like this is good. It's like a little. I'm saying this. It's like it's a Dayglow version of N+. Oh, that's hard, isn't that game? God. So it's a very difficult kind of game, speed running. Like, is it like Super Meat Boy? That kind of feeling as well. Getting through levels.
Wow.
I don't know, but I don't like the sound of it already.
No, that's coming out. And now we've got another game called, which looks really interesting, is Avenba. It's a cooking game. It's a tale of an Indian family moved to Canada in the 1980s. I saw a little kind of like, I think we saw a little kind of trailer of it. It looks great if you like that kind of cooking game.
This could be really good, I think. Out of all the games on that list, except for Exoprimal, I guess. Yeah, this could be like a proper under the radar. I'm going to say it. It could be indie game of the year.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
This could be that good.
Yeah, there we go. That's your games.
I'm going to have to disagree with you there, because I think indie game of the year so far, there's got to be Benedict Fox. So I'm not sure a cooking game can knock Ben Fox off.
Planet Alana. Definitely Planet Alana. It's very good. But good shout. That's our top 10 Xbox and Game Pass for you should be playing in July. Have a look at the article on the site, which will give you all the trailers and a bit more information.
And watch the video on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, there we go.
I must say that.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, what are we looking forward to next week for our fans?
Have we run out of time?
Yeah, we've run out of time. It's definitely run out of time. Yeah.
Good.
I think we've got at least another 10 minutes.
We had all that stuff that we were going to cover, all the research that I've done.
I tell you what, that bloody long article about whatever you were talking about at the beginning. No, it wasn't Carveries. It was Carveries. And then we went.
I told you shouldn't have talked about the Carvery, Darren. Nobody cares about Carveries.
5 Carveries, and you robbed me of the opportunity. Unbelievable.
Honestly,
we've had 15 minutes on the Tour de France, 10 minutes on the Formula One manager racing. It's Now I'm
It's almost like Neil comes on and takes over, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? That's why I'm only here every 6 months. Yeah, he lets me on there.
Bonkers.
Darren, what are you looking forward to next week? We're going somewhere special.
You skipped over me now.
I'll put you on mute.
Next week we are finally going to see Peter Kay in Nottingham. Tickets that took me 2 hours and lots of swear words to buy online, but managed it. So very much looking forward to that it's finally come round.
Brilliant. What about you, Paul?
Well, I'm going to, in a sort of minor health update, as I know the listener likes to hear about it. I've got to go to the hospital tomorrow morning and have x-rays on both my shoulders because now they're all broken again. So, yeah, there we go. So
what's happening to your shoulders? Why are your shoulders bad?
The last time I had a shoulder, I had calcified tendons, it's called, basically. God. So you have an injection in it and it eased it off, but it's come back and it's gone to the other shoulder as well. So I'm planning that all of my tendons are now full of calcium. So that'll be great. So apparently if the injections don't work, you have to have surgery and have it squeezed out like a tube of toothpaste, the fella told me last time. So yeah, that'll be great. Let's hope the injections work. He said it's only keyhole surgery, so yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah.
Hopefully they might numb the area if I'm lucky. But yeah, we'll wait and see with that one. And then other than that, it's just work in my future at the moment, I'm afraid.
Good. Okay. Well, not good. Terrible week.
Terrible. Well,
it's the worst week I know.
It's not. It could be worse. I could have like a tick in my eyeball.
You could do. Yeah, you could. You could do. What about you, Neil? What are you doing? What's your week like?
I don't know, really. I'll just wake up in the morning and see what happens.
Living the dream.
This bit of the podcast has gone.
I will be riding my bike every day. I've made a pact to myself. Pact to myself? Can you do that?
No.
Promise to myself. Yeah, promise to myself.
That'll do.
I'm going to ride every day in July. Yeah. I'm going to ride every day in July, and it's currently July, so I need to ride every day.
Have you ridden every day so far?
So far, I have. Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
It should be easy.
Well done, Neil.
A couple of years ago, I did a year-long streak, which was easy enough. So doing a month should be simple, but.
Well, even on Christmas Day.
Yeah, I've got an indoor bike as well, Darren.
I know, but everyone's
that doesn't count,
you're going
does it?
on the bike.
Surely an indoor bike don't count. You've got to be out there with the bugs in your teeth and stuff.
No, it counts.
Good. Right. Glad we cleared that up. I'm getting rid of this.
Anyway, I have no idea what I'm doing next week.
This is the last time you're going to hear what we're looking forward to next week's segment at the end of the podcast. That was the final one. After that showing of shoulder operations, and I don't know if I can get up in bed in the morning.
Explain to me about Instagram, Gareth.
Yeah. I can't even remember. It's time to go. Right, gentlemen, thank you very much. If we need to get hold of you, where do we get hold of you? Neil, where can we get hold of you?
I am only on Instagram, Neil363. I've got lots of pictures of bikes.
Oh, I thought we said blokes. Bikes, you mean? Yes, bikes. Good.
Well, there's also blokes in Lycra.
That's a very specialised kind of feed.
People pay for that content.
Yeah.
Honestly,
check out the gram, Neil363.
OnlyFans coming soon.
Ram.
Wow.
Darren, where can we find you?
I'm on Twitter and my handle is @27Darren.
Good. And Paul, what about you?
I am also on the Twitter and my handle is @TheXboxHub Paul.
Good.
Paul! Excuse me. I think my voice is finally breaking.
Go on, Neil, quick question. I've got to go.
Is Twitter working again? That's what I want to know.
It's what?
Didn't Elon limit it?
So he's limited it to, you can view, if you don't want to pay for his blue tick, you can only look at 600 things a day or something. But to be honest, Since I follow like 13 people, that's not been an issue for me.
Well, Facebook are launching an alternative, aren't they?
They are.
Threads or
Apparently, it
something.
comes out
yeah.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah,
trend,
next time we'll be saying all our
Our thread handle. Yeah.
The thread count is.
We won't be on next time. This is it. This is the final one.
We've been cancelled.
yeah.
Gareth's had enough now.
Yeah, I'm gone.
Past his bedtime.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the official podcast of TheXboxHub.com. You'll be able to find all the notes of this show at www.thexboxhub.com/podcast. You can also check out our social feeds on Instagram and Twitter at The Xbox Hub and search The Xbox Hub on Facebook.